I just uncovered my parents' darkest secret, why they're so hell-bent on making out the new woman in our neighborhood to be a villain. I was 14 when all the boys in my class started gawking at the MILF who just moved into the neighborhood. She was blonde, had long legs, always wore a pearl necklace, and they were all convinced they had a chance with her. You see, she was constantly hanging out around the areas where all the trucks were, and some of the boys swear they saw her climb in and leave with smudged lipstick. Others claimed that she was arrested twice for solicitation, though the charges ended up being dropped. Well, I grew up in a conservative family, and even though I believed you should be kind to everyone, my parents told me that she was a terrible influence to avoid at all costs, so I got all my information from gossip and the curtain of my window. TBH, I expected to see her wearing those tight Ice Spice shorts, or at least the optical illusion flares, but every day she wore trousers and hoodies, even when it was 100 degrees outside. After a week, I did see her with a man who was kissing her in her front garden, but he seemed like a boyfriend, not a customer, and nothing else she did made sense either. For example, she'd time her walks to always appear at the school bus stop at around 3:15 p.m., always staring at the high school girls walking home, never the boys. I was so curious that my brain was itchy with questions I thought would never be answered. Until one evening in July, when I was walking my golden Labrador Marley at around 9 p.m. My phone was dead, and I thought cutting through the truck stop would be faster than going around. Stupid, I know. Well, I was halfway through when a man stepped out from between two semis. He was 40, wearing a flannel shirt, looked like someone's dad. "Hey, sweetheart, are you lost?" "Just passing through," I said, trying to walk faster. "Where are you headed? I can give you a ride." Another man appeared from the other side. He was slightly younger with a baseball cap. They were closing in casually, like it was perfectly normal. "My dad's picking me up right there," I lied, pointing vaguely ahead. "That's funny," baseball cap said, "because I don't see any cars waiting." They were steering me toward a truck with no company logo. Suddenly, the woman appeared. "Liam!" she slurred, looking convincingly inebriated. "You promised to wait for me, baby." She draped herself over flannel shirt, who I guess was Liam. "Get lost," he snarled, trying to shake her off while maintaining his grip on me. She wailed louder, then accidentally vomited all over his shoes. Real vomit. The smell was awful. He let go of me in disgust, and she immediately stumbled between us. She squeezed my hand so hard it left marks. I knew it was a sign to run. Baseball cap tried to grab me, but she drunkenly fell into him too. I ran all the way home, Marley barely keeping up. As soon as my parents woke up the next morning, I told them everything. "Mom, last night something happened." "Oh, trust me, I heard all about it." Her tone was angry. "Mrs. Tarika saw you with that W word. Do you have any idea how dangerous she is?" I tried to explain about the men, the modified truck, the lock on the outside, but Dad cut me off. "She's been harassing drivers for weeks, making false accusations. You're lucky they're not pressing charges against you for being involved." Mom called her therapist friend Dr. Reyes, putting him on speaker. "This is textbook predator behavior," Dr. Reyes explained. "They create fake danger, then save you. Classic trauma bonding." By dinner, they'd convinced themselves I'd almost been recruited by the woman. They talked until my memory felt unreliable. Maybe I'd imagined the lock. Maybe those men were just tired truckers. But there was one thing I couldn't forget, and that was the bruises that her grip left on my hand. 5 perfect marks of desperation. A week later, I woke up to shouting outside. It was 2 a.m., and through my window I could see a crowd gathered in front of her house. "We know what you are!" someone yelled. She stood on her porch, arms crossed, saying nothing. Someone else threw a rock that shattered her front window. "Kitty Fiddler!" Mrs. Tarika screamed. "Getting our daughters involved in your sick games! Those truckers told us everything!" Another voice shouted. "How you lure girls to them." I watched the woman's face, expecting anger or fear, but she just looked tired, like she'd been through this before. That's when I saw him, baseball cap, standing at the edge of the crowd, recording everything on his phone. Nobody noticed him but her. Their eyes met for a second, and I saw her jaw clench. The next morning, when I went to bring Marley inside from the front garden, I noticed a piece of paper on the inside of his collar. It read, "Thursday night trucks transport missing teens across state lines. The other cops take bribes. Agent Williams at the FBI field office will believe you." I stared at the note, my hands shaking. The paper was damp from Marley's drool, but the handwriting was clear. Agent Williams, FBI, Thursday nights. I shoved the note into my pocket just as Mom opened the front door. "Get inside right now," she snapped, "and bring that dog with you." The house felt suffocating. Dad was pacing in the living room, phone pressed to his ear. "Yes, we understand. We'll keep her away from that woman." "Who was that?" I asked. "The police," Mom said. "They're handling the situation. You're not to go near that house again." I wanted to scream that they had it all wrong, but the note felt like it was burning through my pocket. Instead, I just nodded and went upstairs. From my bedroom window, I watched the crowd slowly disperse. The woman stayed on her porch until the last person left, then went inside. Baseball cap was gone too. The next morning, my cousin Jake arrived for his summer visit. He was 3 years older, about to start college, and the only family member who didn't treat me like a little kid. "Heard you had some excitement," he said, dumping his duffel bag in the guest room. Mom had already gotten to him. "Jake's going to help keep an eye on you this summer," she announced at breakfast. "Make sure you don't get mixed up with any more trouble." Jake caught my eye and winked. Later, when our parents went grocery shopping, he cornered me in the kitchen. "Okay, what really happened?" I told him everything. The men at the truck stop, the woman saving me, the note about the FBI. Jake listened without interrupting, his expression growing more serious with each detail. "Show me the note," he said. I retrieved it from where I'd hidden it inside my old diary. Jake studied it carefully. "This is real," he said finally. "The handwriting, the paper quality. Someone who knows tradecraft wrote this." "Tradecraft? Spy stuff. Look." He pointed to faint indentations on the paper. "She wrote this on top of something else. Probably destroyed the original." Jake pulled out his laptop. "Let's see what we can find about our mysterious neighbor." We spent the next hour searching. Jake was good at this, knowing which databases to check, how to search cached pages. Finally, he found something. "Here," he said, turning the screen toward me. "Diana Morrison, licensed youth counselor until 3 years ago." The photo showed a younger version of our neighbor, smiling at a community center ribbon cutting. "What happened 3 years ago?" Jake clicked through more links. "Says here she lost her license for inappropriate intervention in a family matter. But look at this." He'd found a local news article from the same time period. 3 teenage girls rescued from trafficking ring, I read. "Anonymous tip leads to arrests." Yes, the timing matches, Jake said. I bet she was the anonymous tip, and they punished her for it. We heard our parents' car in the driveway and quickly closed the laptop, but that night, Jake knocked on my door. Thursday's in 2 days, he whispered. We need to see what happens at that truck stop. How? Mom and Dad won't let me leave the house after dark. Jake grinned. Leave that to me. I brought my binoculars from my birdwatching phase. We can watch from the hill behind the truck stop. Wednesday night, I barely slept. Thursday afternoon, Jake told our parents he was taking me to see a movie. Instead, we hiked up the hill overlooking the truck stop. The summer sun was still high at 7 p.m., giving us good visibility. There, Jake said, passing me the binoculars. Same trucks as always? I focused on the lot below. 3 semis were parked in the back corner, away from the overhead lights. None had company logos. I don't recognize them, but I stopped. A car had pulled up. Jake, that's Tyler from my school. He's a senior. Tyler got out and knocked on one of the truck cabs. The door opened and I saw a flash of blonde hair. A girl, maybe 15, climbed down. Tyler handed her off to the driver and collected something in return. He's selling them, I whispered, horrified. Jake was already taking photos with his phone. We need more evidence. Keep watching. Over the next hour, 2 more cars arrived. Each time, Tyler appeared to coordinate the exchange. The trucks never left, just sat there collecting passengers. They must be waiting for something, Jake said, or someone. At 9:15, a black SUV arrived. A man in a suit got out and spoke to each driver. Then the truck started their engines. They're leaving, I said. Those girls' license plates, Jake said urgently. Read them to me. I called out the numbers while he typed them into his phone. The convoy pulled out, heading toward the interstate. We stayed hidden until we were sure they were gone, then carefully made our way down. My legs were shaking, and not just from the steep descent. We have to tell someone, I said. We will. But first, we need to be smart about this. Jake looked grim. Your parents won't believe us. And if the local cops are taking bribes, Agent Williams, I said. The note said he'd believe us. Then that's where we start. Tomorrow we're going on another movie trip, this time to the FBI field office. When we got home, Mom was waiting with her arms crossed. The movie ended an hour ago. We got ice cream after, Jake said smoothly. My treat. Mom's expression softened slightly. Well, next time call. And speaking of calls, Dr. Reyes wants to see you tomorrow. My stomach dropped. Why? He's concerned about your fixation on that woman. He's offered to fit you in for an emergency session. I looked at Jake, who gave me a tiny nod. Play along. Okay, I said. What time? 3 o'clock. I'll drive you. That night, Jake slipped into my room again. Change of plans. We'll go to the FBI after your therapy appointment. Tell your mom I'm picking you up to hang out. What if Dr. Reyes tells her not to let me? Then we'll think of something else. But right now, we need to play along. Don't give them any reason to suspect you're not buying their story. I nodded, but sleep didn't come easy. I kept thinking about those girls in the trucks, wondering where they were now. The next morning, the woman's house was quiet. Her car was gone, and newspapers were piling up on her porch. Had she left because of the mob, or was she following those trucks? At breakfast, Mom watched me like a hawk. You seem tired, just didn't sleep well. Dr. Reyes says that's common with trauma. You'll feel better after talking to him. I forced myself to eat, even though every bite tasted like cardboard. Dad had already left for work, and Mom spent the morning on the phone with various neighbors, discussing the situation. She's definitely gone, I heard her tell someone. Diane saw her loading boxes into her car at 5 a.m. Good riddance. Diane was my aunt, Mom's sister. She was supposed to visit next month, but Mom hadn't mentioned it lately. By the time we left for Dr. Reyes's office, I'd practiced my act a dozen times in my head. I had to seem convinced that the woman was dangerous, that I'd been manipulated. Dr. Reyes's office was in a strip mall, sandwiched between a nail salon and a tax service. The waiting room smelled like air freshener and anxiety. I'll be right here, Mom said, settling in with a magazine. Dr. Reyes was younger than I'd expected, maybe early 30s, with thick-rimmed glasses and a carefully trimmed beard. His office had the obligatory couch, but he gestured to a chair across from his desk. So, he said, clicking his pen, tell me about Thursday night. I repeated the story I'd told my parents, but this time I added doubt. I guess I could have misunderstood. Maybe they were just trying to help. That's very insightful, Dr. Reyes said, making notes. Trauma can distort our perceptions. Tell me, how are things at home? The question caught me off guard. Fine. Why? Sometimes when we're unhappy in our environment, we seek out danger. It's a form of escape. I'm not unhappy. He smiled in that condescending way adults do when they think you're in denial. Have you ever felt like your parents don't understand you? Like you need space to figure things out? Warning bells went off in my head. These weren't normal therapy questions. Sometimes, I said carefully, but doesn't everyone feel that way? Of course. And there are healthy ways to gain independence. Have you heard of wilderness therapy programs? My heart started racing, but I kept my face neutral. Like camping? Similar. It's a chance for young people to reset, away from negative influences, build confidence, learn coping skills. He slid a brochure across the desk. Happy teenagers laughed around a campfire on the cover. Horizons Youth Retreat was printed in cheerful letters. Some of your classmates have found it very helpful, he continued. Tyler Morrison just got back. He's been recruiting. I mean, sharing his positive experience with other students. Tyler. The same Tyler I'd seen at the truck stop. I forced myself to look interested. How long is the program? It varies. Some students benefit from just a few weeks. Others need longer to really process their issues. He leaned forward. I think you'd be an excellent candidate, especially given recent events. I took the brochure, my hands steady despite the churning in my stomach. I'll think about it. Wonderful. And in the meantime, I'd like to see you twice a week, just to monitor how you're processing everything. The session continued for another 20 minutes, Dr. Reyes asking probing questions about my friendships, my relationship with my parents, whether I ever felt unsafe at home. By the time we finished, I felt like I'd been turned inside out. Mom was all smiles when I came out. How did it go? Great, Dr. Reyes said before I could answer. She's very receptive to treatment. I've given her some information about additional resources. In the car, Mom glanced at the brochure. Oh, that looks wonderful. Fresh air, structured activities. Maybe we should consider it for the rest of summer. Maybe, I said, texting Jake under the dashboard. Can I think about it? Of course. But Dr. Reyes is right. You need distance from all this drama. Jake was waiting at the corner near our house. Mom let me out, reminding me to be home by 6. How'd it go? He asked as soon as we were out of earshot. I handed him the brochure and explained everything. His face darkened with each detail. This is bigger than we thought, he said. Dr. Reyes is recruiting for them, using his position to identify vulnerable kids. The FBI office? Definitely. But first, he steered me toward the woman woman's house. We need to check something. The house looked abandoned. Newspapers covered the porch and mail spilled from the box. But Jake wasn't interested in the front. Garbage day is tomorrow, he said, leading me around back. If she left in a hurry. 3 bins sat by the alley. Jake pulled on gloves he'd brought and started searching. I kept watch, terrified someone would see us. Got it, he whispered, pulling out a manila folder. Look at this. Inside were printed emails. The sender addresses were partially obscured, but I could make out period. Reyes, on several. The recipient was someone named Kyle. The Morrison girl is perfect for the program, Jake read. Parents are overwhelmed. History of running away. No one will question a few months of treatment. My blood ran cold. The Morrison girl. That could be Tyler's sister, Jake finished. She went to that camp last year. Came back different. We photographed everything, then carefully replaced the folder. As we walked away, I noticed curtains moving in the house across the street. Someone saw us, I said. Then we better hurry. The FBI field office was a 40-minute bus ride downtown. Jake had researched the route, timing it so we'd arrive before they closed. The building was intimidating. All glass and steel with security guards at the entrance. We need to speak to Agent Williams, Jake told the receptionist. It's about a tip we received. She looked skeptical until Jake showed her the note. Her expression changed immediately. Wait here. 10 minutes later, a tall black man in a crisp suit emerged. I'm Agent Williams. You have information for me? We spent the next hour in a small conference room, showing him everything. The photos from the truck stop, the emails, the brochure from Dr. Reyes. Agent Williams took notes, occasionally asking for clarification. This is good work, he said finally. But I need you to understand something. These operations are complex. It takes time to build a case. But those girls are our priority. We've been tracking this ring for months. Your information fills in crucial gaps. He leaned back. The woman who gave you that note, Diana Morrison, she's been helping us unofficially. So she really was protecting kids like you. She lost everything for it once. Now she does what she can from the shadows. His expression was grave, which means you two need to be very careful. These people have eyes everywhere. What should we do? Go home. Act normal. If Dr. Reyes pushes the wilderness program, stall. Say you need time to convince your parents. We'll be watching. He gave us his direct number and made us promise to check in daily. The bus ride home was quiet, both of us processing everything we'd learned. Your hand, Jake said suddenly. I looked down. My left hand had fresh bruises, probably from gripping the binoculars too tight. They looked like finger marks. We'll say you fell, he said, but someone's going to notice. He was right. At dinner, Mom zeroed in on them immediately. What happened? Tripped walking Marley, I said. Caught myself weird. She frowned but didn't push it. Dad was distracted by work emails, and Jake smoothly changed the subject to his college plans. But later, while helping with dishes, Mom grabbed my wrist. These don't look like fall bruises. Mom, did someone grab you? Was it that woman? No, I told you. I fell. She studied my face, then sighed. I'm calling Dr. Reyes. Maybe we should move up your next appointment. That night, I lay awake thinking about Diana Morrison. Somewhere out there, she was still watching, still protecting kids like me, even after losing everything. My phone buzzed. A text from Jake. Aunt Diane is coming early. Mom just told me. She'll be here Tuesday. Aunt Diane was Mom's younger sister, a nurse who worked with at-risk youth. She'd always been the cool aunt, the one who actually listened. Maybe, just maybe, we'd found another adult who'd believe us. Saturday morning brought new drama. Mrs. Tarika was at our door before 8, practically vibrating with gossip. That woman's house, she said breathlessly. Someone broke in last night. Cops are there now. Mom invited her in for coffee, and I hovered nearby, pretending to read. Probably looking for her client list, Mrs. Tarika speculated. Or substances. You know these types always have substances. Did they catch anyone? Mom asked. No, but they made a real mess. Papers everywhere. The police said it looked like someone was searching for something specific. Jake and I exchanged glances. Someone else was looking for those emails. I'm just glad she's gone, Mom said. The neighborhood feels safer already. I wanted to scream that Diana Morrison was the only reason I was safe, but I bit my tongue and retreated to my room. Jake knocked a few minutes later. We need to be more careful. You think they know we have copies? Maybe. Or maybe they're just covering their tracks. He sat on my bed. Agent Williams texted. He wants us to keep our normal routines. No more investigating. But he's right. We've done our part. Now we wait. Waiting was torture. Every time I saw Tyler at the grocery store or past Dr. Reyes' office, I wanted to confront them. But I played my role, went to my appointments, pretended to consider the wilderness program. It does sound interesting, I told Dr. Reyes during Monday's session, but my parents are worried about the cost. Oh, there are scholarships available, he said quickly, for the right candidates, students who show real potential for growth. Like who? Well, Tyler's sister Megan received a full scholarship. She's doing wonderfully now, very focused on her future. I'd seen Megan at school. She used to be loud, funny, always surrounded by friends. Now she walked the halls like a ghost, speaking only when spoken to. I'd love to talk to her about it, I said. Dr. Reyes' smile tightened. I'm sure that can be arranged, though she's quite busy with her job at the mall. After the session, I told Mom I wanted to go shopping. She was thrilled I was showing interest in something normal and gave me money for new clothes. The mall was crowded with summer shoppers. I found Megan working at a pretzel stand, mechanically rolling dough. Hey, I said, can I get a cinnamon sugar? She looked up, and for a second, I saw fear flash in her eyes, then recognition. Sure, she said quietly. While she prepared my order, I leaned closer. Dr. Reyes suggested I talk to you about the wilderness program. Her hand stilled. It's great, she said in a flat voice. Really helped me. Megan, I said softly. I know something's wrong. I can help. You can't, she whispered. No one can. Just don't go. Make up any excuse, but don't go. What happened there? She glanced around, then scribbled something on my receipt. I can't. They're always watching. I looked at the receipt as I walked away. She'd written, not therapy, ranch work, no pay, no phones, guards. Tuesday morning, Aunt Diane arrived while I was walking Marley. She looked tired from the drive but hugged me tight. Let me see my favorite niece, she said, then frowned. You've lost weight. Just summer stuff, I said. She noticed my hand next, the bruises now fading to yellow-green. Without a word, she took it gently, examining the marks like the nurse she was. These are grip marks, she said quietly. Who grabbed you? I fell. Don't lie to me. Her voice was firm but kind. I've seen too many kids with stories about falling. Something in her tone broke through my defenses. It's complicated, then let's uncomplicate it. Walk with me. We made a loop around the block while I told her everything. Unlike my parents, she didn't interrupt or dismiss anything. When When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Show me the emails, she said finally. Back in my room, I pulled up the photos on Jake's laptop. Aunt Diane studied them carefully, her expression growing darker. I know this program, she said. We've had kids come through the hospital, malnourished, overworked, traumatized, but they're too scared to talk. So you believe me? Every word. She hugged me again. And we're going to stop this. That afternoon, while Mom was at her book club, Aunt Diane called a family meeting. Just me, Jake, and Dad. We need to talk about Dr. Reyes, she began. Dad immediately got defensive. He's helping her process a traumatic event. He's grooming her for a trafficking ring, Aunt Diane said bluntly. The room erupted. Dad accused her of being dramatic. Jake backed her up with our evidence. I sat frozen, watching my family fracture. Finally, Aunt Diane pulled out her phone. Listen to this. She played a recording from my session, my voice tiny through the speaker. I hadn't known Jake had given me a recording app, hidden on my old iPod. Dr. Reyes's voice was clear. Some students need longer to process their issues. The program is very effective at breaking down resistance. Dad's face went pale. You recorded, without consent. To protect your daughter, Aunt Diane snapped. Listen to what he's really saying. Breaking down resistance? That's not therapy terminology. The recording continued. Dr. Reyes describing how difficult girls benefited from time away from negative influences. How parents were often too close to see what their children really needed. When it ended, Dad slumped in his chair. Oh my God. We're pulling her from therapy immediately, Aunt Diane said, and we're reporting him to the licensing board. But if he's connected to something bigger, the FBI is already investigating, Jake said. We've been in contact with them. Dad looked between us, confusion and hurt warring on his face. Why didn't you tell me? Because you didn't believe me, I said quietly. Neither did Mom. He flinched like I'd slapped him. I thought I was protecting you. You were protecting your idea of what happened, Aunt Diane said, gentler now. It's easier to believe your child was confused than to accept that predators operate in plain sight. We spent the next hour going over everything. Dad called Agent Williams himself, needing to hear it from an authority figure. By the time Mom came home, he was fully on board. Convincing Mom was harder. She'd invested so much in the narrative of Diana Morrison as predator that accepting the truth meant admitting she'd endangered me. This is insane, she kept saying. Dr. Reyes is respected. He has degrees. So did the doctors who overprescribed opioids, Aunt Diane said. Credentials don't equal ethics. It took showing her Megan's note, explaining how Tyler was recruiting girls, playing Agent Williams' confirmation on speaker. Finally, she broke down crying. I almost sent you to that camp, she sobbed. I almost, but you didn't, I said, hugging her. We stopped it in time. The next few days were a whirlwind. Agent Williams had us come in for formal statements. Dr. Reyes's license was suspended pending investigation. Tyler was expelled when 3 girls came forward about his recruitment tactics, promising them modeling contracts or easy summer jobs. Without their local network, the wilderness program stopped targeting our area. Agent Williams told us they'd raided the ranch, finding 17 girls living in conditions he wouldn't describe in detail. Diana Morrison's intelligence was crucial, he said. She's been tracking their movements for 3 years. Where is she now? I asked. Safe, that's all I can say. But I knew she'd never really be safe, not while there were still predators out there, still girls who needed protecting. 6 months later, I was volunteering at the youth center where Aunt Diane worked. It was after school on a Thursday, and I was helping with homework tutoring when I saw her. Diana Morrison stood at the entrance talking to the receptionist. She looked different, hair shorter, clothes more professional, but I recognized her immediately. Our eyes met across the room. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she mouthed 2 words. Thank you. I nodded, blinking back tears. She turned to leave, and I almost let her, but something made me run after her. Wait, I called. She stopped but didn't turn around. You shouldn't be seen with me. I don't care what people think anymore. She smiled sadly. You will. When it affects your college applications, your job prospects, the label follows you. Is that why you do it? Watch the bus stops? Someone has to. She finally faced me. There's always another Dr. Reyes, another Tyler, another program promising to fix troubled teens. The woman in the emails, the Morrison girl, was that Tyler's older sister, my daughter. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were full of pain. I tried to report it through proper channels. They said I was a bitter ex-wife making false accusations, so I took matters into my own hands and lost your license. I'd lose it again, every time. She glanced at her watch. It's 3:10. I should go. The bus stop. I realized. You're still watching. Different town, same problems. There's a girl there who reminds me of you. Smart, curious, but her parents are going through a divorce. Perfect target. Can I help? She studied me for a long moment. You already are. Keep volunteering here. Watch for the signs. Listen when kids try to tell you something's wrong. Is that enough? It's everything. She squeezed my shoulder gently. The world needs people who believe the unbelievable. She walked away, and I knew I'd probably never see her again. But every Thursday at 3:15, I thought of her. Standing guard at some bus stop, watching for the predators everyone else refused to see. I kept volunteering, eventually becoming a peer counselor. Kids trusted me with their secrets. Maybe because I understood what it felt like to scream the truth while adults covered their ears. And sometimes, when a kid mentioned a too-good-to-be-true opportunity or a counselor who asked invasive questions, I knew exactly what to do. I'd learned from the best, after all. The woman everyone called crazy, who saved my life with vomit and bruises and a carefully placed note. The woman who lost everything and kept watching anyway, because someone has to. The summer heat pressed down on me as I walked home from the youth center, my mind still processing Diana Morrison's words. Every Thursday at 3:15, she'd said, watching, protecting. I couldn't shake the image of her standing alone at some bus stop, forever vigilant. Jake picked me up the next morning, ostensibly for a trip to the bookstore. Mom barely looked up from her coffee, still processing everything that had happened. The guilt ate at her in ways she couldn't articulate, manifesting in overcompensation, extra hugs, favorite meals, constant checking if I was okay. Agent Williams called, Jake said once we were in his car. They want us to testify. My stomach clenched. When? Next month. Grand jury. He glanced at me. You ready for that? I wasn't, but I nodded anyway. We drove past Dr. Reyes's old office, now shuttered with a for lease sign in the window. Someone had spray-painted Predator across the door. At the bookstore, we browsed aimlessly until Jake's phone buzzed. He frowned at the screen. What is it? Text from an unknown number. He showed me. Stop digging or she pays. My blood ran cold. Diana? Has to be. Jake screenshot the message. We need to tell Williams. But when we called, called. Agent Williams sounded tired. We're monitoring the situation. Just be careful and stick to your routines. That afternoon, Aunt Diane stopped by with groceries. She'd been staying with us since the confrontation, helping Mom and Dad process their role in almost sending me away. She found me in my room, staring at the Horizons Youth Retreat brochure. Destroying evidence? She asked gently, remembering. I traced the smiling faces on the cover. These kids probably thought they were going somewhere safe. Aunt Diane sat beside me. The hospital admitted 2 girls from that program last year. Severe dehydration, untreated infections. They wouldn't say what happened. Why didn't anyone investigate? Parents signed waivers. Kids were troubled. Easy to dismiss. She squeezed my shoulder. But not anymore. That evening, Mom knocked on my door. She'd been doing that a lot. Tentative knocks. Like she was afraid I'd reject her. Can we talk? I made room on my bed. She sat carefully, like everything between us was fragile. I keep thinking about that night, she said. When you tried to tell us. I was so sure I knew better. Mom, no, let me finish. Her voice cracked. I called Dr. Reyes before you even finished talking. I handed you to him. You didn't know. But I should have listened. She pulled out her phone, showing me a Facebook group. Parents Against Wilderness Therapy Abuse. There are hundreds of us. Parents who sent our kids away thinking we were helping. I scrolled through the posts. Story after story of kids returning traumatized. Parents realizing too late what they'd done. One name kept appearing in the comments. Danny. Who's Danny? She runs the group. Former wilderness therapy survivor. She's been helping parents understand what really happens at these places. Mom took her phone back. I've been talking to her. She wants to meet you. The next day, Jake drove me to a coffee shop downtown. Danny was already there, a woman in her 30s with short dark hair and watchful eyes. She stood when we approached, and I noticed how she positioned herself with clear sight lines to all exits. You're the one who recorded Dr. Reyes, she said after we sat down. My cousin helped, I said, indicating Jake. Danny smiled tightly. Smart. I wish I'd had someone like that. She pulled out a folder. I went to a similar program 10 years ago. Different name, same system. The photos she showed us made my stomach turn. Kids doing hard labor in extreme heat, isolation boxes, group punishment sessions. This is what therapeutic intervention looked like, she said. But the worst part was the gaslighting. They convinced us we deserved it, that our parents knew and approved. Did they? Jake asked. Some did. Others genuinely believed the marketing. She looked at me. Your parents fell into the second category. That's why your mom's in my group. We talked for an hour. Danny explained how the programs operated, how they identified vulnerable families, how they used legitimate therapy language to mask abuse. She'd spent years documenting it all, building cases, helping survivors. Diana Morrison was one of my sources, she said quietly, before she lost her license. You know her? We've never met in person. Too dangerous. But she feeds me information about new programs, recruitment tactics. Danny glanced around the coffee shop. She's the reason we knew about Dr. Reyes' connection to Horizons. On the drive home, Jake was quiet. Finally, he said, this is bigger than we thought. Yeah, I mean, nationwide big. These programs, they're everywhere. I thought about all the kids who didn't have a Diana Morrison watching out for them, who didn't have a cousin who believed them, or an aunt who noticed bruises. That night, I couldn't concentrate on anything. I kept checking my phone, expecting another threatening text. Around midnight, Marley started barking. I looked out my window and saw a figure standing across the street, just watching our house. I texted Jake. Someone's outside. He was at my door in seconds. We peered through the curtains together. The figure hadn't moved. Should we call the police? I whispered. And say what? Someone's standing on a public sidewalk? The figure finally walked away, but I didn't sleep after that. Neither did Jake. We sat in my room, playing cards and jumping at every sound until dawn. At breakfast, Dad noticed our exhaustion. Everything okay? Jake and I exchanged glances. We decided not to worry them about the watcher. They had enough guilt to process. Just couldn't sleep, I said. But Aunt Diane wasn't fooled. She cornered us while Mom and Dad were distracted by a phone call from their lawyer. What really happened? We told her about the text. The watcher. Her expression darkened. Pack a bag, she said. Both of you. We're going to my place for a few days. But no arguments. I'll handle your parents. Aunt Diane lived 2 hours away in a small apartment near the hospital where she worked. The drive there was tense, all of us checking mirrors for anyone following, but the road stayed clear. Her apartment was small but secure, 3rd floor with only one entrance. She'd already called Agent Williams about the threats. He says it's probably intimidation tactics, she told us. They're scared because the investigation is gaining momentum. We spent 3 days there. Jake worked on organizing all our evidence while I helped Aunt Diane with her research into wilderness therapy programs. She'd been quietly documenting cases for years. After what happened to you, I pulled every file I could find, she said. Look at this. She showed us admission records from her hospital. Over 5 years, they'd treated dozens of kids from various programs. Broken bones explained as accidents. Severe weight loss called healthy outdoor living. Psychological trauma dismissed as adjustment issues. We reported it, she said. Every time. Nothing happened. Why not? Money. These programs generate millions. They have lawyers, lobbyists, connections. She pulled up a website. Look at their board of directors. I recognized several names. Local business owners, city council members, even a judge. No wonder the charges against Diana were dropped, Jake said. She was threatening their income stream. My phone buzzed. Mom, where are you? Dr. Patterson called about a follow-up appointment. I showed Aunt Diane. Who's Dr. Patterson? Her face went pale. We need to go. Now. She threw our stuff in bags while calling Mom. I heard her side of the conversation. No, she's with me. What do you mean you scheduled? You didn't. Jake was already pulling up Dr. Patterson online. He's not a real therapist, he said. This is a stock photo. The website was created last week. We left through the back exit, Aunt Diane driving us to the FBI field office instead of home. Agent Williams met us in the lobby, looking grim. Your parents are safe, he said immediately. We have agents with them, but someone's definitely escalating. He took us to a secure room where we spent hours going over everything. The fake therapist was a new development, suggesting desperation. They're trying to reacquire you, he explained. Classic trafficking behavior. When one avenue closes, they create another. But why me specifically? You're a witness, but more than that, you represent a failure in their system. Diana Morrison saved you. That can't happen again. We stayed at the FBI office until evening. When we finally returned home, there were 2 unmarked cars on our street. Mom ran out to hug me, tears streaming. I'm so sorry, she kept saying. I almost fell for it again. The website looked so professional. Inside, Dad showed us what they'd found. Someone had slipped brochures under our door for various troubled teen programs, all different names, but the addresses traced back to the same parent company as Horizons. They're not giving up, he said. That night, we had another family meeting. This time, everyone was on the same page. Maybe we should move, Mom suggested. Start fresh somewhere. Running won't solve this, Aunt Diane said. They'll just target other families. I thought about Diana Morrison, eternally watching bus stops. We have to fight back. How? Dad asked. By being visible, by telling our story. I looked at each of them, by making sure other parents know what to look for. Jake pulled up the Facebook group Mom had joined. We start here, build a network, share information. Over the next week, we became activists by necessity. Mom wrote a detailed post about how Dr. Reyes had manipulated her. It went viral in parenting groups. Other families started coming forward with similar stories. I gave my first interview to a local reporter who'd been investigating wilderness therapy programs. Sitting in our living room, cameras rolling, I told the whole story. The truck stop, Diana's intervention, the elaborate system designed to punish vulnerable teens. Were you scared? The reporter asked. Terrified, but I was lucky. I had someone watching out for me. The segment aired 3 days later. Within hours, our phone was ringing nonstop. Some calls were supportive, others weren't. You're destroying good programs that help troubled kids, one woman screamed before Dad hung up. But between the angry calls came something else. Kids reaching out for help, teenagers who recognized the recruitment tactics, parents who'd been pressured by therapists, former program survivors finding their voices. Jake set up a secure email account to manage the messages. We forwarded everything to Agent Williams and Danny, building a massive database of testimonies. One email stood out, no subject line, just, check your porch. Dad went out with Agent Williams' partner. They found a single manila envelope. Inside was a flash drive and a note. For the girl who listened. DM. The flash drive contained everything. Financial records, email chains, names of kids who'd disappeared in the system. Diana Morrison had been collecting evidence for years, and she was handing it all to us. This is enough to take down the entire network, Agent Williams said after reviewing it, but we need to verify authenticity. It's real, I said. She wouldn't risk contact unless it was real. The investigation accelerated after that. More agents got involved. Programs across 3 states came under scrutiny. Tyler testified in exchange for immunity, revealing how they'd recruited him with promises of easy money and college recommendations. But the threats intensified too. Dead animals left on our porch, slashed tires, anonymous letters describing what would happen if we didn't shut up. They're getting desperate, Agent Williams said. That's good. Desperate people make mistakes. The mistake came 2 weeks later. Someone tried to grab a girl outside the middle school. Same age as I'd been. Same vulnerable family situation. Parents divorcing, grades slipping. But this time, people were watching. Parents who'd read our story. Teachers who'd attended Danny's awareness workshops. The girl got away. The would-be kidnapper was arrested. And in his car, they found recruitment materials for a therapeutic boarding school that didn't exist yet. They were starting over, Agent Williams explained. New name, same operation, but you'd made people too aware. The man flipped immediately, providing names, locations, financial trails. The arrests started that night. Dr. Reyes was picked up at a motel 2 states away. The Horizons Ranch was raided, finding 12 girls who'd been reported as runaways. I watched the news coverage from our living room, surrounded by family. Mom held my hand so tight it hurt, but I didn't pull away. You did this, she whispered. You saved them. Diana saved me first, I said. I just passed it on. The trials would take months. I'd have to testify, relive everything in court. But for now, kids were going home. Families were reuniting. The network was crumbling. A week after the arrests, I was back at the youth center when Megan walked in. She looked different, healthier, more like her old self. Hey, she said. I heard you're the one to talk to if someone needs help. Yeah, I said. I'm here. We talked for 2 hours. She told me everything about the ranch, details she'd been too scared to share before. I took notes, planning to forward everything to the prosecutors. Do you think it's really over? She asked as she prepared to leave. I thought about Diana's words. There's always another doctor. Reyes, another Tyler, another program. This one is, I said, but we have to keep watching. She nodded, understanding. We'd both learned the hard way that predators didn't announce themselves. They came disguised as helpers, as saviors, as people who just wanted what was best for you. That night, I dreamed about Diana Morrison. She was standing at a bus stop in some unknown town, watching a group of kids walk home. One girl lagged behind, looking lost and vulnerable. Diana stepped forward, just enough to be seen, just enough to let the girl know someone was watching. I woke up understanding something I hadn't before. Diana hadn't just saved me that night at the truck stop. She'd shown me what it meant to be a guardian, to stand watch even when it cost you everything. The next Thursday at 3:15, I found myself at our local bus stop. Not the same one Diana used to watch. That would be too obvious. But close enough to see the kids walking home from school. I wasn't looking for predators exactly. I was looking for the kids who might need someone to notice them. The ones walking alone, heads down, carrying secrets too heavy for their age. Because Diana was right. Someone has to watch. Someone has to be ready to act, even if it means sacrificing everything. A girl walked past, probably 15, talking animatedly with friends. Safe, happy, unaware of the dangers that had almost caught me. Good, I thought. Let her stay unaware. Let her be a normal kid. But I'd keep watching anyway, just in case. My phone buzzed. Jake. Family dinner in an hour. Don't be late. I smiled, pocketing my phone. Family dinners were different now. Honest. Sometimes painful, as we all processed our roles in what had almost happened. But we were talking. Really talking. Maybe for the first time. As I walked home, I passed Dr. Reyes' old office. Someone new had moved in. A legitimate therapist, according to Aunt Diane. But I still felt a chill every time I saw the building. Some scars don't fade. Some lessons can't be unlearned. But maybe that's okay. Maybe we need people who remember the danger, who stay vigilant, who question the helpers and saviors who seem too good to be true. Maybe we need people like Diana Morrison, like me, like all of us who'd learned the hard way that monsters don't always look like monsters. They look like people who just want to help. I stood at the bus stop, watching the familiar Thursday afternoon crowd of students disperse. The weight of everything that had happened pressed on my shoulders, but I kept my posture casual, just another teenager waiting for someone. My phone vibrated. Jake, grand jury tomorrow. You ready? I typed back a quick yes, though my stomach churned. The prosecutors had prepped us extensively, but facing Dr. Reyes and his lawyers would be different from practice sessions. A movement caught my eye. Across the street, a man in a gray sedan had been parked for 20 minutes, engine running. He kept glancing at a group of middle school girls chatting near the corner store. I pulled out my phone, pretending to text while actually taking photos of his license plate. The new habits Diana Morrison had taught me through example had become second nature. The man got out, approaching the girls with a friendly smile. I recognized the technique immediately. The casual stance, the non-threatening demeanor, the way he positioned himself between them and the store entrance. Without thinking, I crossed the street, calling out to the tallest girl. "Sarah, your mom's looking for you." The girl turned, confused. "I'm not." She said to meet her at the pharmacy right now. I gave her a meaningful look, the kind Diana had given me. "Something about your prescription." The girl's friend caught on first, grabbing Sarah's arm. "We should go." The man's friendly expression flickered. "I was just asking for directions." "The highway's 2 blocks that way," I said, pointing. "Can't miss it." He retreated to his car, but not before I got a clear photo of his face. As soon as he drove off, I turned to the girls. "You don't know me, but that man wasn't asking for directions. Trust your instincts when something feels off." Sarah's friend nodded quickly. "He asked if we knew where the youth center was. Said he was picking up his daughter." "The youth center closed an hour ago," I said, "and parents wait inside, not on the street." I gave them Agent Williams' card. I always carried extras now. "If you see him again, call this number, not 911, this specific number." Walking home, I forwarded the photos to Williams with a brief description. He responded within minutes. "We'll run the plates. Good catch." Mom was in the kitchen when I arrived, surrounded by legal documents. The civil suit against the Wilderness Program's parent company was moving forward, with 17 families joining the action. "How was your day?" she asked, but her tone carried the weight of everything unspoken between us. "Fine. Just helped some kids avoid a creepy guy." She paused, processing this. The old mom would have panicked, demanded details, probably called the police unnecessarily. This mom just nodded. "Like Diana taught you." Yeah. We'd reached an understanding about Diana Morrison. Not forgiveness exactly. Mom still struggled with how she'd misjudged the situation, but recognition, respect even. Dad came in carrying takeout. "Chinese tonight. Nobody feels like cooking before tomorrow." The grand jury. We ate in relative silence, each lost in thoughts about what the morning would bring. Aunt Diane had driven in to support us, staying in Jake's room while he bunked with me. "Whatever happens," Dad said finally, "we're proud of you for speaking up." After dinner, I found Jake in the garage working on his laptop. He'd become our unofficial archivist, organizing evidence, tracking related cases across the country. "Find something?" I asked. "Remember that fake doctor, Patterson?" He turned the screen toward me. Same stock photo showed up on 3 other fake therapy sites, all created within days of our story going public. "They're adapting." "Yeah, but so are we." He pulled up another window. Danny's network identified all 3 before any families fell for it. The word's spreading faster than they can create new fronts. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. "Hello?" Silence then. "You testified against Dr. Reyes tomorrow." My blood chilled. "Who is this?" "Someone who thinks you should reconsider. Your family's been through enough stress." Jake was already recording, gesturing for me to keep them talking. "Are you threatening me?" "I'm suggesting you think carefully about your choices. Memories can be unreliable. Teenage girls often misinterpret situations." The same gaslighting Dr. Reyes had used. I felt anger replace fear. My memory's pretty clear about Tyler recruiting girls, about the emails discussing referrals, about Megan and 16 other girls being held at that ranch, troubled teens who needed structure, unpaid labor, isolation, denial of medical care. I was done being scared. "I have recordings, documents, multiple witnesses, so maybe you should reconsider your choices." The line went dead. Jake immediately called Agent Williams while I sat down, hands shaking with adrenaline. Within an hour, 2 agents were at our house, tracing the call, adding security protocols for tomorrow's testimony. "This is good, actually," Agent Williams said. "Witness intimidation adds federal charges. They're getting desperate." That night, I barely slept. Every car passing outside made me tense. Around 3 a.m., I gave up and went downstairs, finding Aunt Diane making tea in the kitchen. "Can't sleep either?" she asked. "Keep thinking about tomorrow." She poured me a cup. "You know what's remarkable? 6 months ago, you were a scared kid who'd nearly been trafficked. Now you're the one protecting others." "I had help." "Diana Morrison, you mean?" Aunt Diane smiled sadly. "I've been researching her. Did you know she tried to report concerns about 5 different girls before losing her license? The board called her obsessive and prone to paranoid thinking, but she was right every single time. All 5 girls later confirmed abuse in their programs, but by then, Diana had already been discredited. I thought about the woman standing alone at bus stops, watching, knowing no one would believe her anymore but unable to stop trying. Is that why she helped me the way she did? Because she couldn't do it officially anymore? Probably. Sometimes the system fails so badly that people have to work outside it. The next morning came too quickly. The federal courthouse loomed imposing in the early light. Media vans lined the street. Our story had gone national after the ranch raid. Inside, we were led to a secure waiting room. Other witnesses were already there, including 3 girls from the ranch. Megan sat in the corner, her mother beside her. She looked up when we entered, offering a small nod. The prosecutor, a stern woman named Ms. Chen, briefed us one final time. "Remember, just tell the truth. Don't elaborate beyond what you know. If you don't remember something, say so." Jake went first. I watched on the closed circuit monitor as he calmly presented our evidence. Photos, recordings, documents. He was unshakable, even under aggressive cross-examination. Then my turn. The grand jury room was smaller than I'd expected, more intimate. 23 people sat in tiered rows, watching as I took the witness chair. Ms. Chen started with easy questions. My name, age, how I knew Dr. Reyes. Then we moved into that night at the truck stop. "Can you describe what happened?" I told them everything. Liam in baseball cap corralling me, the modified truck with external locks, Diana Morrison's intervention, down to the real vomit on Liam's shoes. "How did you know to run?" She squeezed my hand, left bruises. It was like she was transferring all her urgency through that grip. I showed them photos of the bruises, taken by Aunt Diane days later. 5 perfect finger marks of desperation. The questions continued for 2 hours. The emails Jake and I found. Dr. Reyes pushing the Wilderness Program. Tyler's recruitment tactics. The threatening phone call last night. "Were you coached on what to say today?" one juror asked. "Only to tell the truth. Some people claim you're part of a conspiracy to destroy legitimate therapy programs." I thought of Megan, silent in the hallways, of the 17 girls found at the ranch, of Diana Morrison Morrison, forever watching. I'm part of a group of people who believe children when they say they're in danger. If that's a conspiracy, then yes, I'm guilty. When it ended, I felt drained but clearer than I'd been in months. In the hallway, Jake was waiting with our parents. How'd it go? I told them everything. We went home to wait. The grand jury would deliberate for days, maybe weeks. But that afternoon, something unexpected happened. A woman appeared at our door. Mid-40s, professional clothes, nervous energy. Mom answered, wary of strangers now. My name is Rebecca Morrison, the woman said. Diana is my sister. May I come in? We gathered in the living room, this unexpected connection to our guardian angel sitting across from us. Diana doesn't know I'm here, Rebecca began. She'd probably be angry, but I needed to thank you. For what? I asked. For believing her. For validating everything she sacrificed. Rebecca's voice cracked. She lost her career, her reputation, her relationship with her daughter. Everyone called her crazy, obsessive, but you proved she was right. Where is she now? Still watching. Different town every few months. She can't stop. Rebecca pulled out a photo. This was her before, when she was still Dr. Morrison, respected child advocate. The woman in the photo looked younger, happier, unburdened. It was hard to reconcile with the tired guardian I'd known. What happened to her daughter? Jake asked gently. Tyler's sister, my niece. Rebecca's jaw tightened. She spent 8 months in a program before Diana managed to get her out through unofficial channels. She's in college now, studying social work. Wants to help kids like herself. Does Diana know? They don't speak. Too much pain on both sides. Rebecca stood to leave, but I wanted you to know that what you're doing matters. Every child you help, every parent you educate, it's the work Diana wanted to do officially. After she left, we sat in silence. The weight of Diana's sacrifice felt heavier now, knowing the personal cost. 3 days later, the indictments came down. Dr. Reyes on multiple counts of fraud and conspiracy. The ranch owners on human trafficking charges. Tyler pled to lesser charges in exchange for testimony. 17 other individuals faced various charges related to the network. The media explosion was immediate. Our phone rang constantly. Interview requests, book deals, documentary producers. We declined most, focusing on the legal proceedings and our growing network of survivor support. But the threats intensified too. Dead roses on our porch. Photos of me at the youth center slipped under our door. One morning, every car on our street had slashed tires except ours. A message that they could reach everyone around us. Agent Williams increased security, but we all knew the truth. The network was wounded, not dead. They had resources, connections, believers who thought we were destroying necessary programs. 2 weeks before the trial, I was leaving the youth center when I noticed a familiar figure across the street. Diana Morrison, watching from a bus shelter. Our eyes met briefly before she melted back into the evening crowd. I understood. She was checking on me, making sure I was safe, still watching, even from the shadows. The trial lasted 3 months. I testified for 2 full days, every detail scrutinized and challenged. Dr. Reyes's lawyer painted me as a troubled teen seeking attention, misinterpreting concern for sinister intent. But the evidence was overwhelming. Jake's photos, the recorded sessions, financial records from Diana's flash drive showing payments for referrals, testimony from 17 girls about conditions at the ranch. Megan's testimony was the turning point. She spoke for 4 hours about the reality of wilderness therapy, the forced labor, the punishment for resistance, the psychological manipulation designed to break them down. They said our parents knew, she told the court, that they approved of everything, that we deserved it for being difficult. The jury deliberated for 1 day, guilty on all counts. Dr. Reyes got 15 years, the ranch owners 25 to life, others received varying sentences. The parent company filed for bankruptcy within a week, their entire network collapsing. But victory felt hollow. At the sentencing, Dr. Reyes's lawyer announced appeals. The parent company reformed under a new name within months. Other programs rushed to distance themselves while maintaining the same practices. It's not over, Danny warned at our support group meeting. They'll adapt, rebrand, find new ways to exploit vulnerable families. She was right. Within 6 months, we identified 3 new programs using similar tactics but couched in different language. Adventure therapy, leadership camps, character building retreats. I kept volunteering at the youth center, now as a trained peer counselor. Kids sought me out, somehow knowing I'd understand.